Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But yeah, guys, I'll go through my trades for the week first. I had one position this week on Euro Pound, two positions which I was carrying over from last week. I'm still holding one of them. Dollar Swiss, we'll take a look at that in a second, but if you do want to progress to the analysis, which will be after I go through my trades, which will be pretty quick, of course, but feel free to skip ahead using the timestamps if there is a particular pair you are after. But yeah, like I said, I have one position this week, Euro Pound, some nice shorts here, closed it for a small win. It looks like it was a loss here because of the 4H candle, but if I go to the hourly, you can see we had a nice dump to the downside. I had some pound news, which kind of helped things along the way, but then took me out of break even. So I got into the trade there, price moving sideways, nice dump to the downside into 0.85250 into the low here, took partials, went break even, and then the next candle, big push to the upside, taking me out the trade. So it was a fairly quick trade there, but again, follow the plan, good trade. I was looking for us to go a little bit lower, but the pound news had other ideas in mind and took me out of the trade there. So a small win this week on Euro Pound, and two positions that I'm still holding from last week. One on Euro NZD, which ended up in a 1% loss. I was looking for price to hold some resistance here. We had some nice lower highs. Looking for another dump to downside into the support. Market failed, broke through the resistance, and obviously took me out of the trade. So a loss on Euro NZD and dollar switch, which I'm still nursing from last week as well. Nice shorts there. Lovely move to the downside. I've taken some profit from the trade, some partials, but I'm ultimately looking for a push it into this low here, or if the market comes and takes me out at break even, my stop loss is at break even. So it's either price is going to push, take me out break even, or push and take me out for a win. We'll see what happens, but either which way, we're still walking away with a small win. So happy days for dollar Swiss, but yeah, still on the trade. A little bit annoying that's moving sideways, but sometimes trades will be very quick, sometimes they'll move sideways, sometimes they just take you out for a loss very quickly. It's all swings and roundabouts. But those are my trades recently, and going into next week, we'll see if we can find some more. To start off, like always, Euro USD, big move to the downside. We came into that 1.1 level. If I go to the daily chart, this is the level we've been looking for Euro USD to head towards. Big resistance there, nice move to the downside, came into that level again, a lot of consolidation, failed to break through. Lovely move to the downside, and now we're back into that same area again. So potentially we might see some more downside. And obviously we've got this huge dump there, which is our first sign that the market could be looking to go lower, breaking through this support level. So what I'm looking for Euro USD is for a lower high, lower low, and then I'll look to take some shorts, maybe in a retest of this level here. So I'm not looking to be the first person in the market, anticipate that lower high. I know we've got really nice break of structure. A lot of traders will be looking for a lower high here. That's perfectly fine, but that's not really what I look for in my trading. I'm looking for the second, third, fourth lower highs or higher lows. I'm not trying to be the first person into the trade. Sometimes it turns out to be a fantastic trade, but getting in the second, third, and fourth is a lot riskier, and you still take advantage of the trend as well. Maybe not right at the highs, but still profitable. So those are the setups I normally look to gravitate towards. So for me, I'll be waiting for price to create a lower high, drop, and then I'll look to catch the second one. But rightly so, some people will be looking to get involved in the market sooner than me, and the test of 1.096 is looking like a decent level to short as well. I've already got a nice break of structure, could be looking for the lower high for some more continuation to the downside after price is respecting that 1.1 level quite firmly as well. So the shorts there do look good, but for me, I'll be waiting for the second lower high before doing anything. So I'll be seeing if we can get a retest of this level here. It's a nice level of support there. Maybe we can break through it the second time, get the next lower high, then start looking for some shorts and targets. Probably using these prior structures on the left here. Nothing too complicated, because again, we don't want to push our trade too far, and we know the market on the higher time frame is still pushing these higher lows here, as we can see, still pushing these higher lows. So there's a possibility that we could obviously respect the resistance, still form a higher low, and keep going up. So you don't want to marry these shorts, because we still do have a very choppy uptrend here that we do have to respect in the higher time frame. So I do like the shorts, but we'll have to be careful of how far we push the trade, essentially. So this is what I'm looking at for Euro USD going to next week. A little bit more aggressive trade around 1.09481, simply retesting that resistance, looking for the lower high. But for me, I'll be seeing if we can form a little bit of a trend together, some lower highs, get some more confluence, and then I'll look for the trade. So Euro USD, I'm not really seeing anything at the moment until that develops. And again, we don't necessarily have to form that. Price can just suddenly go break through structure, or it could just suddenly dump to the downside. So it might be a few days before the setup that I'm looking for forms, but you know, just gotta wait for it to form and be patient. When it does form, if it does form, look to take it without any hesitation. So that's the plan there for Euro USD, looking at downside off of 1.1 and a push to 1.07773 next week. Okay, so dollar yen looking very strong, as with all yen pairs pretty much. Yen is very weak at the moment. And USD JPY still pushes to the upside, creating some new highs here in the 4H time frame. And looking at it from a higher time frame perspective, and again, with a lot of these yen pairs, you do need to scale to the higher time frames to get a look at the overall picture. You know, zooming in, it just looks like the market's just creating bullish candle after bullish candle. And sometimes just scaling to the higher time frames, you can see maybe, okay, a long-term target we could be working towards. And for USD JPY, obviously we had the prior highs of 2022 over there, October, November, where we had this crazy up move through most of 22. We peaked around those highs, and that could be where the market is looking to drift back towards again. We're seeing higher highs and higher lows on the daily time frame, and as long as that trend continues, you know, that's a pretty respectable target. 150, big psychological level, big swing point in the market. We could be looking at USD JPY heading towards that level in the near future. So going forward with this information, I'm basically looking at pullbacks, looking to buy USD JPY to the upside. I'm starting to like the structure here, really nice level of resistance. And we've got the trendline confluence and a good fib level there if we do pull back into that level. Now I can also see that the market's quite bullish. We might not get that pullback. The market could pick up momentum and keep flying. So like I've said with other yen pairs, you know, it's probably best to trade these on the lower time frames, like the hourly, 30-minute, even 50-minute, with some yen pairs like pound yen, which has been very strong, and euro yen as well. You know, sometimes it's best to trade them on the low time frames to actually get some good pullbacks, because sometimes on the 4H here, you know, you might not see a good pullback until we're already at that level. So there's a possibility I might not get a good trade here for dollar yen until, you know, in the long time, until I see a good retracement. Obviously, I do trade a bunch of pairs, so it's not really much to worry, but for me, I'm looking at 141, which, you know, is a big ask to see that retracement. Definitely possible, but if the yen weakness continues, you know, it's going to be a difficult one to see such a big retracement. So levels on the lower time frames, like this level here, even this level looks pretty good there. You know, this could be a nice place to look to get involved on the hourly time frame and take some nice break and retest. Big break there. If I drop to the hourly, big break, no retest. You know, these are some good levels to trade from on the lower time frames, which again is a high probability of the market getting there than obviously down there. But nonetheless, in terms of direction, I'm still looking at a lot more upside for dollar yen. 150 is a long-term target for me. I'll be sticking with the 4H time frame. That's my bread and butter. So just because I may or may not get a trade doesn't warrant me looking to change my strategy and drop to low time frames or try and change things. If I get the pullback I'm after, cool. If I don't, cool as well. So this is what I'm looking at for USD JPY. I'm seeing consistent higher highs and higher lows. We've got a really nice higher time frame target to work around 150. So until we get there, until we see a big type of reversal for a bearish trend, I'm anticipating this bullish trend to continue. I'm looking at riding those pullbacks to the upside if I can get one, of course. So yeah, the plan going forward for USD JPY is looking at pullbacks. Like I said, you might want to be looking at the lower time frames to get some good entries, but for me, I'll be keeping my eyes peeled at 141 for breaking retest of that high and looking for continuations to the upside, back to the highs and further. Okay, so next up we got USD CAD. So USD CAD's been heading to the downside fairly nicely. A lot of lower highs here consecutively. The market's just been trending to the downside after snapping through some bearish structure here on the left. So I'm looking at more downside for USD CAD, but I do want to see some retracement. If I go to the daily time frame, we are coming to some major levels of resistance turn support, which we didn't actually see a retest of when we got a big breakthrough. As you can see, massive break there. Didn't quite come back for the retest. So now this is the first time the market's coming back and interacting with this level. So I don't really want to be looking to sell into this level. Again, maybe you can get away on the lower time frames because again, the market is still printing these lower highs. So you might be able to catch a few pips to the downside, but me in the 4H, I want to catch some nice swing moves. I definitely don't want to be shorting into a level like that level there. So I'm going to be looking for bigger pullbacks like I was speaking last week. So the analysis hasn't really changed since last week. I'm still looking for the breaking test of this support level. We broke through with a lot of momentum. I'm looking to see if we can get a deeper pullback, go and test 1.33, and then get a continuation to the downside. And again, targets can be back at that same area. And I'm also looking at this level of support here as well, which is where we kind of started that big up move from, just underneath 1.3, around 1.295. So as I see things here for USD CAD, the market's broken through some major structure, getting consistent bearish momentum, consistent lower highs. So I'm looking to see if we can get a nice pullback off this level of support, catch the next lower high, and start looking for sales off this broken level of support, now turn resistance, which is a very, very good level to short from as well. Got some good confidence there too. So I'm hoping to see a bigger pullback for USD CAD. The market is starting to react with the support, so I'm hoping we can see a big push to the upside. There's obviously a case we could just break through and continue that journey. Like I said, on the lower time frames, you probably still be able to catch that move there, but for me, I'm looking at a deeper pullback, and now look to see what I can do. Targets may just keep it simple back to the prior low. I don't think I'll probably push it to 1.3. If I do, I'll probably just keep a small amount left. Most of my profit, I would like to take it around this low here. If I can get 1 to 3, that'll be happy days. So yeah, USD CAD still pretty bearish, broken through some key lows, looking for a pullback onto 1.33, approaching some daily support right now. So I do want to see a bigger pullback to get the shorts going, and then yeah, targets back to where we came from. Then maybe if we're lucky and we see a break of this level, we can be looking at 1.3 as the next major target. But at the moment, very bearish on USD CAD going into next week. Okay, so on to Euro Pound now. So Euro Pound, we were anticipating more downside this week, and we did see that shortly, but we didn't get to 0.85, which was the overall target, which again was the target for my trade as well. Only took a partial win in that one, and as you can see, didn't quite come into 0.85, and now the market's getting quite choppy. So I'm actually going to mark this up as consolidation and kind of stay away from Euro Pound from now. At least last week we had this nice bearish descending channel here, which is what I was playing off of. For the trade idea, as you can see, we're having some nice lower lows, some nice lower highs as well. So nice catching a short there, breaking me test some level, looking for push into support, and then into the high time frame support at 0.85. So now that we've broken outside that channel, we might be retesting it. It's just not very, very clear. I'm not seeing that bearish momentum that we once had for Euro Pound. It's starting to deplete, exhaust. It might be going into consolidation or maybe even reversal as well. Again, we don't necessarily have to get to my targets. My targets is a likelihood that we'll get there, but again, we don't have to. Sometimes the market will get very close to a target, consolidate, and then reverse and not actually hit the target. Sometimes the market will do that. So it's important to not have, fixed opinions of where the market should go. It's good to be fluid and adapt to what the market is doing. Right now, even though we're very close to it, we might not get there. We might just consolidate, or we could still get there as well. But this definitely does not interest me for a trade opportunity. So going forward with Euro Pound, I'll wait to see what we can do outside of this consolidation. If you can start breaking to the upside, that looks like a decent trade, and take the reversal. As again, we've had a really nice healthy bearish trend, and we're still kind of hanging on to support here on the left. We're trying to break through it, but the market is having a hard time doing it. So there's a possibility we could just end up respecting that level and take a push to the upside. In that case, I'll be looking for the breaking retest of 0.86300 and looking for the retest above that. If you get some nice high lows coming to that position, that would be fantastic. And again, TP, not to be too aggressive, Euro Pound's quite a choppy market, so probably back to the high of that consolidation on the left around 0.87100, 0.87200. So Euro Pound for me, I don't really have a bias anymore. I mean, I would still have a bearish bias because again, we haven't really broken through major structure. We did break through the channel there, but we haven't really have any major break of structure. So I wouldn't say I'm bullish, but I definitely wouldn't be looking to buy or sell this market. So I'm marking up as consolidation, waiting for us to commit in direction again with good momentum. So if you start clearing support again, see some good momentum, then yeah, I'll be back on the sells. And same thing with the buys. If you start clearing to the upside, some good momentum, I'll be looking for some pullbacks and continuations as well. So I'm very neutral on Euro Pound going into next week, looking to see if we can get a breaking retest of 0.863, then probably get some nice continuations back to some highs around 0.87 next week. Okay, so onto AUSD. So it looks like this one's had another fake out on the daily time frame. I've been talking about this consolidation for a while. We had a lovely support level here. We broke to the downside. It turned out to be a fake out. The market came back into the range. Big push to the upside. And again, I've still been bearish on the higher time frames for this one. But ever since we had this breakout to the upside, I've been looking at, okay, we've had a big fake out to the downside. Now we faked out to the upside. Okay, now we can probably anticipate some more upside here. But the market's just crashed back underneath. And again, higher time frames have always still been bearish. So if you can start clearing the support again, then possibly we could be looking for the continuation to the lows there. The weekly is still bearish, all those lower highs, but daily's just been a big confusion. This is possibly looking like a big head and shoulder pattern, possibly. It's a very weird one because I was anticipating this to be the right shoulder. So ever since we did see the break of that high, it did throw a big span in the works, but possibly that could be the right shoulder now, and we might see the continuation, which still kind of fits the mold, but it just doesn't look so clean. So I'm basically just focusing on this pattern here, this consolidation, looking at the fake out to the downside. Now we've got the fake out to the upside. So what we can anticipate now the market's broken back inside the consolidation is a continuation back to the low of the consolidation. Now I do expect us to eventually break out to the downside because of the higher time frame direction, and the weekly still down. If I quickly go to the weekly, you can still see we're pointing all these lower highs, so I do expect downwards eventually. But again, we have to respect the consolidation, and the market is having a tough time trying to break out of it and stay out of it. So with AU, we're looking at push to 0.65742 next week, since we had a fake out the consolidation. Now we expect price to get back down to the support level there. So you're looking at pullbacks in the lower time frames, having a lovely level of support here. If you can pull back into that one, probably drop to the hourly, get a nice little break and retest, continuations to the low. I don't really like trading within the range, so this is not really my forte. But nonetheless, the direction looks pretty clear and probabilities look pretty good as well. So I'll be expecting to see continuations back to the support. We may pull back into that level. We may create some structure and retest it and then head down. So you might have to stay on your toes with AU if you really want to catch this move. But nonetheless, this is looking like a decent level of support, which we broke through a lot of momentum. Haven't come back for the retest yet. So if we do, that is looking like a good place to look to place some shorts. And even if we come a little bit higher onto the actual high of the range, did not mean to lock that, let me unlock it, into the actual high of the range, we could probably see a continuation back to the support level as well. So the way I see it, for me, AU's looking bearish, fake the high, back inside the consolidation, expecting continuation to the low. Now you can see some good pullbacks and some good entries for it. So keep an eye on a pullback into 0.67400 and also 0.67800, and targets for next week down to 0.65800 at the low of the consolidation. Okay, so on to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD still looking pretty bearish, still expecting more downside for this one, looking for a push into the prior low. And we're almost there. We've been talking about breaking retest of this level. Coming into the week, we had a nice breaking retest from the prior week, but I said it would be nice if we can get another retest to look for some entries. Didn't quite get that. The market kind of rolled over very slowly this week. And it's been quite bearish. So you've been, if you've been looking to trade this one, you need to drop to the lower time frames to get your break and retest. Especially we had a nice consolidation as well. Didn't quite see the retest of that. So potentially going into next week, you might see a pullback and then the continuation. So that's looking like a good short. But again, you probably want to drop to the hourly or 30-minute if you want to get a decent risk to reward for that one. So the way I see NZD CAD is still pretty bearish. Higher time frames still look pretty bearish. If I scale to the weekly, still seeing a lot of momentum on the weekly. Again, the weekly just had a breaking retest of that level there. Nice bearish engulfing as well. So as the weekly looks and the daily, if we get to the daily in a second, it looks like we've got some more downside, and this is looking like a good support. Eventually maybe this low here as well, but that's quite far away, so we won't really discuss that right now. Again, you can see a big support level there. NZD CAD in the daily still displaying a lot of bearish momentum. So for me, definitely very short bias. Again, shorts up here still will be good if you do come for the double top, but again, it's quite far away. So even if you do see a pullback there, we most likely won't see it by the end of next week. But if we do get there, keep an eye for some shorts, because again, being a decent level of resistance, being a good level of support, most likely if we're going to stay within structure, you expect the market to hold that level as well, but again, I doubt we get up there. So your best luck for NZD CAD is on the lower time frames. You've got some nice bearish structure, markets creating these consistent low highs. Let's see if we can get another pullback, another lower high, and ride it into the low. Then possibly might see some continuations into that daily support underneath 0.8 as well. But from the lower time frames, I'd probably suggest just take your profit at that level there, not trying to stretch it too far, around 0.80689, the swing low. So NZD CAD for me still bearish, higher time frame still bearish, weekly, daily, full H, major time frame still pointing to the downside. We're not quite at the swing low yet, so I still do expect a bit more downside. If you're looking at shorts, you do want to see a nice pullback for this one. You've got a breaking retest of the support level, and then you can look to catch your shorts off that level. And continuations into the prior low, maybe further as well if you're feeling a little bit braver. But that is what I'm looking at next week for NZD CAD. Shorts off 0.8144, potentially 0.8265. I doubt we'll get there, but keep it in mind. And targets back to the prior low at 0.80600 for next week. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So pound NZD still pretty bullish on this one. We had a nice breaking retest of the high here. Market held it as support, now pushing to the upside and starting to create some more bullish structure here above the level. So the way I see pound NZD, again, we've still been discussing this target for a while, back at 2.09, still looking for a push into that high. Market's starting to clear out these strong resistance levels, and now the next major target is back to that resistance there where we got all these wicks and that big spike from COVID, from COVID there. So 2.09352 into this high there is my next major target for pound NZD, and as you can see, we're still respecting bullish structure, creating higher highs and higher lows. We're still looking at following that bullish trend. So there's a couple levels I'm interested in for pound NZD. This being one, if you can clear the high of this resistance, because the market is a little bit choppy, and also this level here as well. Kind of a nice double top pattern, which is what we had. Nice first low, respects the low, pushes to the upside, and now respects the resistance of the double top and double bottom, sorry, then looking for the continuation to the upside. Obviously, the break of this resistance would be the safer entry. Reason being, you're not buying directly into resistance, and we've already shown that the market is breaking through. But obviously this entry here could give you a better risk reward. So again, if you're risking 1%, if this trade fails and you get on that one and it works, you make back your profit, and if it does work, then you catch a better risk reward. So it has its pros, has its cons, but at the same time, the idea and the direction is still the same. Looking at our upside, couple levels to look at. 2.07393 on the retest of this high here. Much safer entry, wrong direction, much safer entry, but risk reward might not be as good. But again, it doesn't matter if you're still getting the risk reward you're after. If it's a 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, then you don't need to look for the best risk reward every time. You just want to be consistent with a certain size, and at the same time, if you are looking for the better risk rewards, this is a better place to do that. And as you can see, the market is starting to create some higher highs and higher lows. So if you do get the pullback, this is looking like a decent level to buy off, which I've got around 2.06213. So yeah, pound NZD for me going forward, looking at pushes the resistance there. A couple levels to look about. If you're looking for the safer one, waiting for the break of that resistance there up here, and then look for the retest. But at the same time, there could be some nice longs there as well. But the direction is the same for both of them, to the upside, and the targets is back at that daily, weekly level there as well. So pretty bullish on pound NZD. Keep an eye on those levels, looking at more upside and targets, weekly targets, and next week targets as well, back at 2.09300. Okay, so going into CAD Yen. So CAD Yen and the Yen pair is looking extremely bullish. Again, very close to the highs. So these are the prior highs, which we were talking about with USD JPY as well. You can see CAD Yen is a lot closer to the high there. In fact, there's a high chance we'll probably just spike into it next week. So yeah, CAD Yen looking extremely bullish, successive bullish candles on the weekly to the upside, minimal pullbacks here. As you can see, these are the best pullbacks we've kind of seen of recent times with CAD Yen. So it's been, if you're not in these pullbacks, it's difficult to get good trades. But on the same time, if you're in the lower time frames, hourly, 30-minute, these are not bad pullbacks to work with. So again, fitting the bill of looking at the lower time frames if you do want to take a part of this trend. But nonetheless, we've been seeing really good momentum, really good trends here for the Yen pair. So CAD Yen looking extremely bullish. The way I see it, we've got that resistance there is crying out to be hit. and possibly there might be some nice sells shortly afterwards. Now, I'm not looking to sell CAD at this level until I see a break of structure. So if the market comes into this level, starts when you're rejecting the high, break of structures, give us some lower lows and lower highs, and we see a reversal, then sure, I'll be looking at shorting from this high, because it is a very, very big level. As we can see previous, you have that big double top and a humongous dump to the downside from that level. So it definitely is a good level to short from, but I want to see evidence that we are actually seeing a reversal and not just short because we're simply there. So the way I see CAD right now is the market still giving us higher highs and higher lows. You know, these are some decent levels to look about for looking for some longs. If we pull back into some of these areas, again, you probably want to drop to low time frames, because number one, risk to reward. Number two, the entries as well. You don't want to be looking at entering on even the hourly. You probably want to drop to the 30-minute to get a decent entry. Yeah, probably 30-minute, maybe even lower time frames as well. So hourly 4H is a bit tight in my opinion. I definitely won't be looking at CAD next week. I'll keep an eye for the sells if we do start getting that reversal. What buys is just a little bit too miniature for me. So CAD the way I see it, if you're looking at longs, scale to low time frames, 108 looks good. Also 107 500, staying consistent with those higher lows. I'll be waiting to see what we do at 110, because that's where I've got the weekly level at. If we do start getting some reversals, some lower lows, some lower highs, some break of structures, I'll keep an eye for a nice sell setup to go back to the downside if I see that form, of course. But we're not even there yet, so I'll wait to see what happens. But CAD definitely very bullish. Keep an eye on the lower time frames, 108, 107 500, and we've got some nice weekly targets which are not too far away at 110 for next week. Okay, so over to pound USD. So pound USD analysis is pretty similar from last week. We're still looking for the breaking retest of this prior high. The market's still giving us all these higher lows. We had the first low here, market broke structure, higher low since then. Obviously higher highs there, and now the market is looking like pulling back. And I'm looking at a pullback into this level since we broke through, never got the retest. So I'm looking to see if we can get that continuation to the upside. Now I'm going to be a little bit careful with pound USD, because we did have this big wick to the upside respecting this resistance. So essentially, market has already had an attempt to get a continuation of this bullish trend, but failed heavily. Big wick to the upside. This was caused by news, but technicals are still technicals. Big push to the upside, the market failed, and now pushing to the downside, which is not a good sign for the buyers. You don't want to see the market trying to continue its trend and fading at the highs. It's not a sign that the market, once had, it still has the bullish momentum it once had. So I'm still looking at longs here because it's a good level, but again, not trying to shoot for the moon here. If we do get a push back to resistance, you do probably want to call it a day back at that level, because we've already had a couple attempts now, market trying to break through this area here at 1.28373. Both failed, and the chances are we could fail again. Now the higher time frames, daily, weekly, still display a lot of bullish momentum. So we're still buying with the overall direction of the trend, and again, that's as safe as it gets really. But we're starting to fail at the highs, so again, do need to take that with a pinch of salt and not be too greedy with the TPs. But a pushback to 1.28323 looks pretty good. Even some minor levels of support resistance could be nice partial areas before that. You can probably drop to the hourly time frame to find those areas in a bit more detail, but the overall direction, the overall analysis still stays the same with pound USD. Still looking at breaking retest of 1.265, lovely level of resistance, now turn support, still seeing those consistent higher lows. So looking to see if we can get another one for another attempt to push higher. So the way I see it, pound USD still bullish, still looking for buys above that level, and we'll see if we can get some good entry signals, some good rejection around there to get into some buys next week. And now on to pound CAD. So pound CAD, not a fan of the price action with this one, to be honest. I'm looking for us to clear that resistance and start pushing to the upside. We still have this overall uptrend on our ranks here, low, high, low, high, low, well, possible new low because we haven't created new highs yet, but looking to see if we can get back there. And the market has been dancing up and down, respecting resistance, breaking support, breaking resistance, and now we've kind of got this nice level of resistance around 1.69. Market's failing to break through. We created some lower lows here, but essentially failed to continue south, and the market's a little bit all over the place. What I'm looking at is potentially a big inverse head and shoulder, as we can see here with the left head and the right shoulder. So what I'm looking to see is if we can break to the upside and get that next pullback and ride that momentum to the upside with that higher time frame backing. So I'm looking to see if we can form that next higher low. Now look to catch the one after that. Again, like I said, if you're a USD, not trying to be the first one into the market, or I suppose the first and second, because the first people are normally the ones trying to catch the tip of the trend, and then you got the first high low. I like the second and the third personally. So I'm looking to see if I can get in on this area here, because then we've actually broken through structure, we've broken through resistance, and that head and shoulder pattern, inverse head and shoulder pattern, is well and truly formed. Again, right now it's still potential, the market could still drop to the downside and never form that right shoulder. Waiting for this opportunity does mitigate against that, just a safer place and a better level to enter from as well. Solid level resistance now will become support, so it's a good place to have your stop loss underneath. So this is what I'm looking at for pound CAD. Again, it's a big ask. I do want to see a big push to the upside before I look for any entries, but it just looks like a good quality setup and one that I would want to wait for anyway. So that's what I'm looking for pound CAD. I'm not really interested with the setup here. It's a little bit sideways, practically consolidation, to be honest, and again, that's not really my expertise. I like trending markets with a bit of trend to it, higher highs, higher lows, lower highs. That's what I want to be working off from. So if I can start getting that, that would be nice for pound CAD. So yeah, looking at upside back to 1.711. Again, when you see that break first, nothing's quite solidified yet. So we'll stay patient, but I am looking at buys next week off the back of 1.69 on the retest of it. Okay, so on to pound yen. So pound yen, again, still very bullish. We're starting to create some structure up here now. So we've got some levels to work with. Again, nothing really that interests me, but on the lower time frames, you guys can use this to your advantage. As you can see, lovely level of resistance there. We still got these higher lows, the double bottom there essentially, with these two lows, higher low, higher low, higher low. I mean, now we could be looking at a retest of this level here, and at the same time create a higher low. So we continue this bullish structure, not the most bullish structure in the world. It's a little bit choppy now, but we can still ride that momentum, because we know monthly, weekly, daily 4H is still displaying a lot of bullish momentum. So I'm looking for buys in these conditions that are still very good. And we can also look at a retest of this resistance here at 182 as well. This was proven to be a pretty good level of resistance this week, but now it looks like we've cracked the code and the market's trading above that level. So pullbacks in the low time frames, again, you probably even want to drop to the 30-minute as well, because an hourly bullish engulfing probably will have you looking at something like this. And if your TP is back at the prior high, at best you might get a 1-to-1, but probably less than that. So 30-minute time frame could again help with the risk to reward. Still, if you want to push your trade further, again, you can probably manage your trade when it gets back to the highs, as in move your stop loss to break even, or trade your stop loss or partials, or whatever you do, and then maybe look at some psychological levels. Because again, with pound yen, if I scale to the weekly, there's no kind of real kind of target to have with this one. We've got the high over there. It's more like a monthly target. There's this resistance here, which is 186, which again is a fair bit away as well. So I think with pound yen, if I was looking to trade that, I'll probably choose the psychological levels, or just cut my profit at the high. Either which way, they both make sense. Both with pros, both with cons. But yeah, pound yen, pull back onto 1-to-82 looks pretty good. Continuations back to the prior high. And you could be looking at 183, 500, 184 as areas of TPs, depending how far you want to push the trade. But in terms of area confluence, this is looking good. Good level of support, good level trend line, seeing some good structure, and obviously you got the higher time frame backing as well. So it looks like a good setup with pound yen. Keep an eye on 182 from buys off that level, and continuations back to the highs and probably higher next week too. Okay, so over to gold now. So gold, looking at downside, it looks like we've got the breakout I've been looking for. I've been asking for a good breakout for gold, and it looks like the market's finally picked up momentum and broken to the downside. We had these lower highs here. Now the market's finally committed to one direction. Again, it was quite 50-50, but now the market has broken through the low of 1940, 1935. I'm looking at some more downside for this one. We had a very quick retest of the level just coming to the end of the week there, Friday, but I'm looking to see if we can come back into that level, get a proper nice retest, double top that level, look for a nice bearish engulfing, probably similar to what we had there, and again looking for the same entry for the continuation. As long as we can hold 1940 and stay below the consolidation, I'm interested to short gold. As for targets, again, it's a little bit sticky because we haven't been in these prices for a while, so we have to kind of use levels on the left here. We've got some support around here, we've got some support around here, you've got a good level down there, but I think that's quite far away. Well, we've already reacted with this level anyway, so the next kind of major target is probably around 1886. Again, a push back into the low does look good, but risk reward would be very minimal. If I do get my normal entry, I'm probably looking at maybe a 1-to-1, 1-to-1.5 at best there, so that would definitely be my first TP. Second TP probably be around 1890 into this low here, which also does line up with that high there too, so it's not a bad level at all to look at for a TP. It's just a little bit of ask because we're kind of pushing into some territory we haven't been in for a while. But nonetheless, still seeing consistent lower lows, lower highs with this one, and breaking through structure here too. So looking to see if we can get that next lower high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and get the continuation back into support, into the prior low, and then possibly into 1890 as well. But for gold, I just must hint at the idea that I'm still looking at a bigger move to the upside. I'm still treating this as a big bullish move, pullback, another big bullish move, pullback. So I think eventually we will see the market snap to the upside. As to where and when, I'm not too sure. You know, we could pull back all the way and retest this level. We could double bottom. We could even break structure and head down, and my analysis be completely wrong in the higher time frames. But in the meantime, I'm seeing some good bearish structure breaking out that consolidation, so I'm interested in some shorts and targets back to 1890. So we'll keep an eye on the shorts next week for gold. Okay, so Bitcoin up next. Bitcoin, big move to the upside this week, broke out its descending channel here, flag pattern here, broke to the upside very aggressively, but now coming back into some key resistance at 31k, 31k. So Bitcoin's at a very interesting place because, you know, what's the next move? We're coming to a very solid level of resistance, so it doesn't really make too much sense looking for buys now for Bitcoin. As you can see, big level of support. This was a big support level for a long time. Market cracked the support around this time last year. Actually, no, that was June. So yeah, around this time last year, we cracked the support level, and now we're coming back into it as resistance, or we did once, but now we're doing it again. So the buys don't look good at this moment in time. If we do snap through this level, then we do have a nice level of support around here. Those wicks are trading around 34, 35k. As you can see, this was a big support level. We broke through, never got the retest of that. So that level there's, for me, the next obstacle for Bitcoin around 34, 35k. So if we do end up clearing this level of resistance, then buys above it do look pretty good, because now this is going to be a big level of support again. And we can probably look at this kind of bull flag kind of happening again pretty much, you know, get the correction, retest, continuation. As you can see, big impulse, big correction, now again another big impulse, correction. So kind of expecting that pattern to repeat itself above 31k, but of course we need to break through 31k first, and then the next target we got 35 up there. At the same time, there's a possibility we could double top it and come all the way right back down again, and be looking at a reversal as well. So I'm definitely not going to rule that out, because again, this 31k is a big level. We could see the market push right back down again, back to these lows. We could see another lower high develop at these areas. So this is definitely a place where you don't want to be buying. If anything, it's actually not a bad place to sell. But if you are looking at buying Bitcoin, you want to get involved in some bullish momentum, wait for 31 to crack, and then get your buys above that. So a much safer bet, and also just better in terms of where you're buying and where you're buying from as well. So keep an eye on break, retest 31k. Again, you can probably use the 4 time frame for your entries. If you're looking at sells, I'll probably wait for a bit more development at this level, because again, the market's still creating higher highs and higher lows. Let's see if we can start getting some lower lows or some lower highs, or just some equal highs, market rejecting, then some sells will become a much better prospect. But at this time, I do think you know, if we get the break of 31k, 35k is our next bet. So let's see if we can get the break of that level, get the retest and continuation back into highs. Not next week, but soon. Okay, so last but not least, our bonus pair, which for this week is Euro AUD. So I'm liking this pair. I'm seeing some really good structure in the higher time frames. If I scale to the daily, I've been talking about this pair for a while. We can see we've got some really nice bullish structure. We eventually broke through it, gave us a lower high, lower low. So now I'm looking at a lower high for a push back to the downside, and now we're coming back into a very nice area of confluence. So but a drop to the 4H time frame again, you can see we'll come into a very nice level of resistance here. As you can see, beautiful level of resistance once, twice, support there as well, now resistance there again. And we've also got this trend line connecting the major highs, 1, 2, and now 3. You know, we've got a really good area of confluence there, and now I'm looking for continuation back to the lows here into this prior low, and potentially further as well if the trend continues. But for the trade, we'll probably call it a day back at 1.59 into that support level. So in terms of the confluences here, USD, it's looking very, very good. A lot of confluence here. You just need to wait for some good entry signals. We're also seeing some really good, you know, momentum, some really good structure here for USD, some really nice impulsive waves to the downside, telling us that the bears, you know, have seen a lot of momentum and likely to see a continuation of that momentum as well. So in terms of the structure quality, in terms of the confluence present, you know, very, very good. Now we just need to see a good entry signal to trigger us into the trade, because at the same time, you know, we can have a good setup, we can have good confluences, but the market doesn't give us a good entry signal. If the market, say, opens up bullish for the week and just breaks straight through, that completely invalidates the setup and I'll have to move on to the next trade. But if we do get some really good wicks into that level, some good momentum on the hourly as well, I will look for my entries, and we could be looking at probably 1 to 3, maybe 1 to 4, depending on the entry, into that low there. You know, 1 to 3 would be fantastic anyway. But that'll be the plan for the trade. Looking at some continuations back to 1.59, area of interest at around 1.635. We'll be looking for my entry signals there, and yeah, looking for some good bullish engulfing, some good wicks, and a push back down into the prior low for Euro AUD. And that brings us to the end of the video, guys. If you have found it useful, please be sure to drop a like on the video. Make sure you've subscribed if you haven't done already, and hit the bell if you haven't done already as well, so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. But guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Again, leave comments down below if there's a particular pair you're interested in for next week. Let me know. I'm interested to find out the setups you guys are looking to trade. But thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you all next week.